Give me just a minute. I'm getting started here. We'll be started in just a second. All right. So I had to change some things around. I planned on talking about the history of money, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to talk about the history of money and why we need competing currencies. I'm not going to be able to do that. I'm going to have to talk about ICE. I'm going to have to talk about immigration. I'm going to have to talk about Donald Trump. I'm going to have to talk about war. Um, I'm going to have to talk about hypocrisy. I'm going to have to talk about the Libertarian Party. I'm going to have to talk about racism. I'm going to have to talk about a lot of things. If you stick with, I mean, it's stream of thought. It's stream of conscious. It's all coming, no script, whatever. This is impromptu. It's just been based on my day. Um, I wanted I wanted to do the educational. I wanted to do the educational video because I have people telling me that people that I care about, people I respect, telling me that we want more of that. We want more of who will build the roads. We want more of how government destroyed healthcare. We want more truth, more history, more accuracy. And I want to give that. I really do. But I think it's important right now at this time to reflect on what's going on in the world because there are so many people who I think we have to take a step back and look at how we got where we're at. So we can't pretend that everything happens in a vacuum. We can't pretend that Donald Trump rose from the ashes and took over the government. Right? How did he get elected? Well, take all the theater out of it. I mean, take the wrestling antics out of it and the heel turn. It was pretty. If you follow that line of thinking, though, it was pretty wild. Um, there was if you follow wrestling, old WWF when it was still WWF wrestling. Um, Stone Cold Steve Austin did an amazing anti-hero heel face turn, and then he did it with Bret Hart, right? And and he won the crowd over, and that's what Donald Trump did. It was the same angle, the exact same angle, right? It was the authority angle. They were gaslighting. They were this charge and that charge and this charge and that charge, and the whole world was crashing down on him. And then they were trying to shoot him, and all these crazy things were happening. And everybody got fed up. And the guy then he jumps up and he's like, "Fight, fight, fight!" And everybody, a lot of people got riled up with that, right? And they started following the guy. It was an amazing, an amazing face turn that he made, and then he got into office. And I'll admit, man, he had me going too. He got into office and he freed Ross. That was badass. Brought Doge. That was badass. Talked about putting Ron Paul in Doge with Elon Musk. That was badass. That was great stuff, man. That was really, really, really good stuff. That first month was just rock and roll. Like it was like, yeah, this is what we wanted. I didn't vote. I wouldn't vote for him, but if I had voted for him that first month, I was proud. He was walking the walk and talking the talk. No more wars, Doge, free Ross Ulbricht, RFK. All this stuff. We're going to put an end to. We're going to put an end to the food crazies. We're going to put an end to the the vax crazies. We're going to put an end to all this shit, right? And it was badass. That first month was. I mean, hell, I'm getting pumped up thinking about it now. That first month was just pure rock and roll. It was beautiful. There's a lot of things I can't even pardoning the J6 people, like all that. There's a lot of people that have either quit watching me at this point because they're on the other side of that, or by the end of this, everybody's going to have a little bit of a reason to hate me. So bear with me. I'm going to go on roller coasters here. I'm going to ramble a bit. I'm going to go. This is like I said. This isn't a script. I'm just talking what's on my mind. This isn't even what I plan to talk about tonight. I plan to talk about currency. So all that stuff, right? He pardoned the J6 people, like all the stuff that had been building up for the past couple of years. We were cashing in, right? We were getting the build up. We were getting the pop. We were getting the money shot. And then it just slowly but surely, and then fast, fell like a house of cards, right? All of a sudden, Israel was back in charge. Elon was out of Doge. Nothing happened with Doge. Fauci, Fauci never got arrested. Even going back to 2016, Hillary never got locked up. Then all of a sudden, we're talking about going to war with Iran, like, and it just became more and more and more and more. And all of a sudden, Thomas Massey, of all people, Thomas Massey, a good gentle soul, a good libertarian, a good constitution, he's not really a libertarian, just a good constitutionalist, votes with the Republican Party 91% of the time. The 9% he doesn't vote, as he's so famous for saying, is when they want to protect criminals and pedophiles. So Trump hates that guy, starts attacking him, palling up with Lindsey Graham, flying around with Lindsey Graham. So that face, like, I mean, it is wrestling, man. It is pure theater. If you look at it, so back in 2016, everybody hated Donald Trump, right? He was a joke. I mean, even the people that loved Donald Trump later, they hated him. He was a joke. By 2020, he was beat. He was, by the time he was out, he was a defeated man. And He made that face turn. He became a hero. No, it was way before Charlie Kirk got killed. I'll get into it. I'm going the whole thing. It was well before Charlie. That would be a good easy way to think that, like, he had an emotional crisis, but it was way before that. But he made that face turn. Go back to what I'm talking about. He made that face turn. He became the hero, right? All the anti-establishment people were behind him. He was Stone Cold Steve Austin. He was that. I mean, it was the exact same parallel. It was the exact same angle. And then you got your payoff, and the storyline had to change, and he made the heel turn. It's all theater. None of it's real. It was all designed to do what it is. The things Donald Trump is doing right now, I will. I definitely will. I will definitely explain why. Pardon me. I've said this. I know there's a lot of people who would not agree with me. So I'm on three or four different platforms here. So if you see me, like, it seems like I'm getting kind of like talking to myself. I have chats showing up on one of my screen from I think it's Facebook. I'm not positive, and so I'm kind of responding to that in real time. So I'm sorry for people who think that I'm just like insane over here. I'll definitely explain pardoning January 6th, because I understand if you've got a left train of thought, this is what I'm getting into. If your mind is a little bit to the left side of things, a little bit more like you historically go along with Democrats or progressives, you're going to see that January 6th is a really bad thing. Just like people who have more of a right leaning see what's going on now as a huge thing. It's the exact same thing. But I'll get to it. I'll definitely do that. But I've just got to get through this monologue and this thing. So he made his face turn. Now he's made his heel turn. He Trump is where he has been put to be. This is the whole thing that I'm trying to explain to everybody. It's written. It's theater. It is WWF. It is scripted. That's it. It's just scripted. So when Donald Trump gets out, and this is what I'm trying to prevent, because everybody, I was leading that buildup. I was trying to explain that buildup to explain how Donald Trump got reelected, how he got so popular, and how he was able to amass so much power this time. Even though, if you look at everybody that he has in his cabinet, everybody he surrounds himself with, all his advisors were once never Trumpers. They were all the people he had. They were the deep state. Marco Rubio, they were the deep state. Ted Cruz, they were the deep state. Ben Shapiro, they were the deep. Everybody, everybody. Pam Bondi, anti-gun as it gets. They were the deep state. Those are the people he has surrounded himself with. And why? Why did he surround himself with those people? Because he was always intended to. Because so many people give him a pass just for being Donald Trump. Because the reason people love him is because they think he speaks for them. I'm going to go back to 2020 a minute, and I promise you, Carol, I will get to answer your question along the way. But if you go back to the way the world was in 2020, you couldn't say things for being branded a racist. You couldn't speak freely. You couldn't, it was a different world. And the left had clamps on everything. You were deplatformed on all the social media things if you spoke out about COVID. If you spoke out about the wrong thing in general, but if you spoke out about Ukraine, if you spoke out about COVID, if you spoke out about any of the hysteria going on, then you were you were shunned, you were blocked, you were out. And this is from people who already felt like they didn't have a voice. Trump was elected in 2016 because he came out and said things that people felt like they couldn't say because they were shunned. So he got elected the first time and then they clamped down harder. I mean, look at what Canada did. Canada was debanking people, truck drivers, regular, common, ordinary people. And so Trump got all this love, and because he's like, okay, that's the kind. Never mind that he's a billionaire, because it's theater. Remember, it's what he says. It's the emotions that he invokes. And Barack Obama did the same thing in 2012. Barack Obama, there were a lot of people who, for the first time, felt like they could really have a voice. They felt like hope and change was a real thing. He amassed a cult following. Then he went straight into bombing other countries. Trump, he went through a whole script and roller coaster to get to where he was. And so in 2020, this is the best thing about that. The only really good thing to come out of Donald Trump's to come out of Donald Trump's election to me is that culture part of it did shift, but that came organically. It didn't come because of any policy made. It came because people felt empowered to speak up because they felt like they had someone who wouldn't arrest them or deplatform them or make them feel like lower or less than for speaking. So because people felt empowered to speak, they started speaking. They started saying things. We started having more dialogue, and then the platforms opened up. Everything came out, and then the market kind of worked in that way. So now we get to where we're at now. You've got this guy with all this power, and he's doing exactly what Joe Biden wanted to do, what Joe Biden was supposed to do. I mean, Joe Biden played his part. Joe Biden set up Donald Trump just to do these things. One expanded on the next, expanded on the next, but Joe Biden couldn't get away with doing what Donald Trump's doing. And Donald Trump's setting it up now. He's setting it up now so that the next person that comes after him can do even more. And everybody's going to be so happy to let him do it. All the marks are going to be so happy to let him do it because at least it's not Trump. And that's what I'm trying to prevent. That's why I spend so much time. Because if you look back at my history, I have criticized every president of my lifetime that I've been old enough to be aware of. Um, this isn't new to me. I have always it's not an attack on Trump per se. It's not like, oh, this guy has TDS. I definitely don't. Out of between Trump and Harris, I wanted Trump to win. So it's definitely not a TDS thing. It's a SDS. It's a state derangement syndrome. I'm very against the state, but I can also see what they're setting up. So now, what people are starting to lay into this hero worship of Trump, and they're starting. The answers are the same answers. I had an argument today, a debate, whatever you want to call it, on Facebook with two sides. Right? I posted a meme about if you're mad about Ashley Babbitt and you're mad about Renee Good, and you guys saw the meme. And on one side, people were saying, "Well, that's not the same. That's not the same." Back then, those January 6 people were domestic terrorists. And then on the other side, on the right side, people are saying, "That's not the same. That's not the same." Those people out on the streets now are domestic terrorists. I'm paraphrasing, but that's exactly, I mean, that was the implication from a large swath of people. They're both saying the exact same thing to me, giving me the exact same criticism. Well, what I think is that no, back then you should have arrested those people because they were domestic terrorists. And then the other side, from their point of view, well, no, what I think is you should arrest those people now because they're domestic terrorists. If you're using the exact same criticism, if you're defending with the exact same verbiage, with the exact same train of thought, and the only difference is your point of view, then you're kind of, I mean, if you look and you see that so many people are saying the same things in different contexts, it's validation to me that what I'm saying is correct. So, to get to your point, Carol, about you can't go along with pardoning the January 6 people and explain to me how I can, it's easy. In the first place, what you had was a bunch of nothing, honestly. Um, the only person who was killed that day was an unarmed woman murdered by the government. That's plain simple fact. What you had maybe was a riot, maybe. So what? You had riots all summer long during the BLM stuff. You had so what? You had that. They were let into the White House. If you're going to claim to me that these people were terrorists and that was an insurrection, that's how Donald Trump got elected, is because that's gaslighting. Like, I'm not saying you're gaslighting me, you may believe that, but you believe that because you've been gaslit, because the media told you that. You there's no such thing as an unarmed insurrection. You had women, you had children, you had grandmas literally, children literally, women, men dressed up in furry costumes, meandering through the White House, which they were led into. They didn't knock the doors down. They were allowed in there. Basically, went on an unguided tour. Some of them even a guided tour. Took selfies. Some of the security guards took pictures of them up on the podium, like the cops. They took pictures of them up on the podium, and then they were told to leave. And guess what they did? They left. So let's say you don't see it that way. Let's say you see that they were there and they were a mob and they got rowdy. Well, guess what else though? That's public property. The White House is public property. You know who owns public property? It's communism. You know who owns socialism? You know who owns it? The commons. You own it. I own it. How can you trespass on your own property? My belief system is simple. If you hurt someone, if you trespass on their property or their person or their liberty, then you deserve to be punished. If you don't do those things, then you don't deserve to be punished. You There can be no crime if there is no victim, and the state itself cannot be a victim. So those people on January 6th, like them or not, agree with me or not, they were arrested. They were thrown in a cage. For what? I still don't. I mean, for what were they thrown in a cage for? Why do you think they should have been caged? Because they did what wrong? Like, why should they have been locked in a cage? Isolated, in solitary confinement, made an example of, locked away, treated horribly. Why? Why should that have happened to them? Of course, they should have been pardoned. I don't see any debate. I don't see any. To me, it's nonsense. Of course, they should have been pardoned. I'm not being dismissive to you. Um, I'm just answering your question in the best way I can, like as honestly as I can. To me, it's of course they should have been pardoned. And what we're doing right now is I'm debating with friends, people that have, and I'm not talking about Daniel. I see you're right there in front of me. I'm not talking about you with this comment when I say this because I feel like we've had our share of boxing matches and arguments and things over life that we can disagree politically or agree politically, but and we'll be fine. Um, but I'm arguing with people I've known. I had a girlfriend during COVID. My wife probably, hopefully, she didn't see this. I had a girlfriend during COVID, and she told me basically I needed a vaccine passport to. Anyway, we broke up, and I see the same thing happening now. I see the exact same thing happening now on the other side. I see people that I didn't expect this to happen to the right, but I see people that I'm friends with on the right that are about to. I can see that things are about to take off because I disagree with them vehemently. I have the exact same passion for this topic as I did for COVID or any other topic. Um, I believe in freedom. I believe in freedom to the individual. Are we talking about the limits of federal jurisdiction and law enforcement? I can't see the whole comment there, and I don't want to get off on that. So, no, I'm just talking. I'm just rambling, really answering the questions as they pop up. Again, this was meant to be about what I advertised this one as, and what I meant for this to be about was the history of money and how we need competing currencies. And I am starting next week. That is what I'm going to go into. I believe that it's important to go into those topics. I believe that those are more important than this, actually. But this is important because we have to stop what we're doing because what we're doing is setting it up for the next person to take it even further. The hero worship and the hatred and the vitriol, all of it, that allowed Donald Trump to run rampant with the things he's doing right now, is going to allow the next person to do the same thing and take it up even further. And as that happens, maybe there's nothing we can do about it. It's all in God's hands, right? I still think it's my duty to try to talk reason to people and stop it and say, "Hey, you thought Trump was your answer. You thought Donald Trump was the answer to your political issues. You thought Donald Trump was the man that was going to come in and set you free. People thought Barack Obama was the answer to their political issues. They thought he was the man that was going to come in and set you free. The next one, at least it's not Trump, they're going to say they're going to let him get away with so much." What I want people to understand is that for your entire lives, You've always felt if you just get the right people in government, government will work. That's the whole crux. That's my whole thing. The whole crux of this is you always, not you individually, but people always think if they get the right person into government, then government will work. Government works. Government works better than any mechanism I've ever seen. Government works down to a T, just like it's planned to do. There is no Republican or Democrat, as much as people hate me saying that. There is no Republican or Democrat. They are on the same side. Government is a weed that feasts on power. They say war is the strength, is the health of the state, right? Power is the health. If war is the health of the state, power is the appetite of the state. That's what they grow on. The Republican and the Democrat, they serve the same master. Same person signs their paycheck. They get paid by the exact same person, and their only goal is not. That's why Lindsey Graham never posts about South Carolina. He's always posting about Israel. That that's why no matter which group is in power, regulation never gets rolled back. Government always grows. It always grows. The spending always grows. None of it ever gets cut. Not one, none of it. Not even a little bit. Not even what government calls reduced spending is actually a reducing the growth of spending, and they don't even pretend to do that anymore. And Trump's the worst offender of all of them on the spending. But that's for now. Next term, somebody else, probably a Democrat. And that's the fear. That's the fear here because it is going to be a Democrat. It's designed to be this way. The Democrats are going to win the midterms, and then all the bad shit that's going to come out of that, out of what's happening now, everybody's going to say, well, it's because the Democrats won the midterms, or a Democrat's going to win the next election, going to take it back into what we just the thing that everybody, the Biden incompetence falling to pieces, and everybody's going to be like, oh, we need a Republican to come in and save it. It's designed to work that way. It's designed to look that way to our eyes. It's designed to say, "Oh my God, Joe Biden was so incompetent. He's let all these people across the border. He gets up there and he stimmers and stammers and he talks worse than Mike does on camera, and anybody will be better than him." And then the blame is gonna, and then you're gonna have another Trump coming back in because at least strength is better than incompetence. They're gonna say, and then it's gonna grow more, and eventually, you're gonna be quartering soldiers in your house. Eventually, you're not even going to be able to throw tea off the harbor. That's where it's at. I mean, and if you can't see that, that's why principles do matter. That's why consistency in political philosophy matters. Because if you hold to a true political philosophy, if you hold to don't hurt people, don't take their stuff, otherwise let them be free, the government shouldn't be able to do things I don't do, then you're chained in. You can't just get emotional and say, "Oh my God, well, we got to have somebody come in and save us." Government really, in our daily lives and our daily interactions, government doesn't matter. Most of the things we do are volunteerism. The only time we ever, Michael Malice once said that the only time a lot of people encounter violence is in public school, and that's true. And I'll tell you in a minute. I'll get it to it. And besides Michael Malice saying the only time that a lot of people encounter violence is in public school, I can't bring them on video. I'm on 3 or 4 different platforms, and I'm just like I don't want to touch any of them because I'm just lucky to be on it at all. So anyway, besides Michael Malice saying that, or to Michael Malice's point of the only time some people experience violence is when they go to in their whole lives is when they go to public school. The only time most of us experience government outside of public school is in a situation we don't want to, is when we're being violated and we're having to go to the get our tags, we're having to go pay their taxes, we're having to go get a speeding. It's always, but just going about like free trade, things of that nature, outside of when they're robbing us, we don't need government to exist. And to get back to my point about the competing currencies and all of that, that starts next week. But go read, because that's where I think that's the answer to your question, Daniel, is how do we free ourselves from government, or even more limited government, is we have to do it ourselves. And I've written a lot about how things worked like before government, like how we got roads, things of that nature. And I'm a good writer. I'm a really good writer. I used to try to feign humility on those things, or try to. I was taught to be humble, but I think God gave me that talent, and to downplay it would be sinful. So I've gotten some really good essays on anti-state content.substack.com, on who will build the roads, how government destroyed healthcare, how the Wild West is even a myth, like a lot of that stuff. So if you understand the history of how we have these things, which I've put there for you, and I'll do more with currency coming up. Currency is important. People say whoever controls the food supply, whoever controls the food supply controls the government. I mean, controls the populace. Now that's more who controls the money supply. Nobody should control the money supply. Currency should compete, and if they did, the best ones, the most valuable ones, would win out. So that'd be a good start. But really, no. I mean, I think the best way, how we do it in this day and age, how do we get, like, I've done a pretty good job, honestly. I was thinking about this when I was taking a shower earlier after I put the kids to bed. I I don't like, I do this more because I'm afraid of what may come, and because I love people, and I'm kind of a political junkie, and I have been for most of my adult life. So that's why I spend a lot of time talking and writing about this stuff. But as far as actual, I'm on a farm. I do a lot of black market business. I started a real estate company that also goes around, licenses and things of that nature. I have I have a regular tax paying income as well too. But if that and so does my wife. But if those went away, I've set myself up here where I'm in the unincorporated South, which is as close to Ancapistan as you can get. The unincorporated South is as close to voluntarism as you can get in this society. What we have to do, this is what's important, instead of all the arguing and all the fighting and all the debating, if we can come to Jesus and realize that no government is the best government, and if we're debating about, well, they should be allowed to do this or allowed to do that, we're debating the wrong thing, because that's the first thing we have to get past. We have to get past saying, well, they should be allowed to do this to us. They just shouldn't. But if we can get past that, even if we believe it, even if, you're like, hey, I want them to do this, blah blah blah. If we can get past that and we can build communities, and communities don't have to be me and my neighbor here. Although I live in because I bought my farm down in Tallahassee, where it was on old timberland where I could buy it cheap. I live in a black neighborhood, so almost all of my neighbors, I don't have any real close neighbors, but almost all of my neighbors are black farmers, and they are as libertarian as it gets, even though they're not political at all. Like, everything, we trade hogs, we trade meat, we trade, like, it's very off the grid living. We don't want for anything. We live as modern as anyone else, but we have our markets, right? Um, and that's what you have to do. That's the first thing, is creating counter economies and communities. You have to have places where you can be safe. There is no, at this point in time, getting out of it, but minimizing it is about culture. And that's what we have to change. That's why I'm always posting on these things. That's why I'm always posting about what they did to us today, or what they did to us today, is because I need people to see government for what it is. And I can only do my part, right? It's not like I have some massive audience, you know. I have the platform I make for myself. It's a very little one, but I do the best I can on it. And changing the culture is the most important thing we can do. And the first, by eliminating the dependence culture. We eliminate that dependency, we start counting on each other. Because voluntarism doesn't mean, people think that liberty means, or that I think it means, I'm an island to myself. Well, no, it doesn't. It just means I have the freedom to be. I have the freedom to opt out. I have the freedom to not be coerced and forced. So yeah, it's about limiting the reach of the government but people can do that. We have the numbers, right? We have the numbers. That's why they want us divided. That's why they plan these things out the way they do, so that you have good guys and bad guys, and you cheer for the good guys, and you boo the bad guys, and you want the good guys to win, who you think are the good guys from your perspective, because they want the audience at each other's throat instead of at their throat. If you can see it all as political theater, if you can see it all as pro wrestling, as scripted pro wrestling, with a good guy and a bad guy, and you're the mark, and you're suspending disbelief when you think one of them is this, then we can get away from government, and we can start looking for real solutions. And that's really it, man. This one a lot different. I've been on here 30 minutes, basically at a monologue, staring at a screen, talking. I really appreciate you guys. I appreciate you bearing with, staying with me, talking to me. Maybe come on next week. Come on with me. Join me next time. We can, maybe we can get more people to watch if we talk and do roundtable style, because that's it. I mean, it's about talking to people and asking questions and finding common ground and finding ways to unity. Um, you have to build a community first. You have to have people who have the same beliefs as you do. You have to have culture. You have to have churches are a great way to do those things. People should put their faith in God and their faith in church instead of their faith in government. And if we can agree on that, if we can start with that, then we can pull a lot of their weight away from them. But like I said, I've been rambling here for 30 minutes. I don't know. I hope somebody got something out of this, or I made some kind of point, because none of it went exactly like I was supposed to, and I didn't script anything. But I had fun anyway. I had fun answering. I've never done it this way. I usually just record. I usually come in and know exactly what I'm going to talk about, have a beginning, middle, and end, and do it that way. But it's been kind of fun for me, so I appreciate it. All right, I'm gonna get off now. It's 30 minutes, 31 minutes and 6 seconds. It looks like. I think that's long enough for anybody to look at my wrinkled face and hear my old voice. So, thanks, guys. I'll talk to you soon.